rotting man lies on his side with his eyes looking straight through you. The belt is still around his neck. His body is supine and open to intrusion by autopsy.
Come on, officer. You know what a field autopsy is. You've done 100 of them.
What you do know is, at 18.9 kilometers, the dormant shield volcano, Corpus Mundi, is the world's highest summit, and the failure of the 38 single, Et puis descend 20, was the death knell of disco. But what a field autopsy is, you have no idea.
There truly is a time for everything, even for yellow gardening gloves. However, they are lacking hygienically. I suggest you get in there in limited capacity. I mean when I need you to. Until then, I should handle physical contact, and you should take notes. That's right.
You knew it because you inspected your ledger. The lieutenant is relieved you know the protocol. The dead man stares in silence as you crack open the ledger. The bright red paper is covered in boxes and lists, describing the condition of his skin and organs in 3 parts. Above those, an 11-field info form needs filling out first. It begins with
That's you.
The corpse is indifferent to your scribblings, just lies there. The next box says
KK57-0803.0815.
KK equals Kim Kitsuragi. 57 equals Precinct 57, followed by his date 0803 and time of arrival, 08:15, on the scene. He's indexed the case after himself, not you.
And what would that make the alphanumeric?
HDB 41 0803. Help me out with the time of day, anyone? 11:11. It's meaningful.
Good. Let's go with that.
The lieutenant is quite surprised you managed to come up with an adequate case number.
NA. Next. NA. Roughly 50.
The corpse looks ageless, like meat on a hook.
Mondial. Subgroup Occidental, as per your observation.
The pudgy mess looks neither mondial nor occidental. It doesn't even look human. The next line says, as you read it, you think, that leaves out dark-haired Mesk, Sao, Saramaritsian, Kedratic. Lighter-skinned occidental means this man could be Vespertine, Oranese, Messinian. Those three are on the table. A solid guess, Mr. Racial Profiler. Also of note, your unconscious racial profiling machine ruled out Messinian before. Despite all the Copperoonies and Kobos, that leads Vespertine or Oranese.
Fucky!
Male.
Pigs can have sex!
Nor does he look male, with his pregnant belly and indistinguishable face.
We're still going with March 4th. 51. What else? 9. By is non-applicable. 10. Case number is the same as the coroner's case.
HDB 41 0803.1111 listens motionless with the cargo belt still around his neck. Only one box remains.
None. At least not after the initial examination.
A strange word. Treatment.
Interfering with the body's position or wounds post-mortem.
Don't overdo it. It's okay to be unsure.
They'd have to have incapacitated and carried him over. This man was more than a match for untrained dogwalkers.
Your central nervous system recognizes this gesture. It's the stations of the breath. Ecclesiastic, religious in nature, a holdout from pre-DeLorean burial rites. It takes him 2 seconds to perform. Then, somewhere in Jamrock North, a small wood shed behind Rosencrantz Row, Lieutenant Nick Feuerbach puts his hand to the chest of a small corpse, no larger than a monkey. It's raining outside, light drizzle. There is darkness in the shed. Elsewhere yet, an obese female sits in a wicker chair, her silhouette bull-like against the window. Outside, Grand Coudon. The day is turning dim for Sergeant Mac Dawson. Hand extended, he approaches, to make sure she is dead more than anything else. And so, all across Jamrock, Coal City, GRIH, 42 deceased persons found today, 42 stations of breath.
We should start the post-mortem.
The corpse cannot feel Kim's hand on his chest. It no longer meaningfully interacts with its surroundings. A thicket of boxes and lists on red copier paper tries to answer why.
Clothes. The deceased wears armored boots and white briefs. The make of the briefs is Babrodine, I think. Let's see.
See, it's happening.
Babrodine, yes. Inexpensive. Size M. Color white.
The disappointment is palpable. The red-haired thing was expecting something more lurid.
The boots are ceramic. Vitreous enamel. They are fused to his skin from blood flowing downward post-mortem. Removal of the boots is left for processing. Tattoos. The upper torso is covered in a single, continuous tattoo, resembling a national pattern. It reaches from the right shoulder to the heart. The ink is blue and white. The assistant has a color photograph of the markings, to be added to the case files as document A1. The photo is taken on the scene, using a Trigat Mini. The deceased has a belt for airlifting cargo around his neck, tied with a hangman's knot. Color yellow. Length 3 meters. There is a buckle on the other end. Well-nourished, athletically built, measuring 1.8 meters. Generally consistent with age, about 50. Preservation is good. Ambient temperature, below freezing. Body hair is light brown. Distribution is consistent with age. The deceased had male pattern baldness. Hair is combed back, short. Lividity is consistent with hanging. The head is congested. Contusions are present on the head, chest, and thighs, consistent with stones thrown post-mortem. Low velocity.
Fucking low velocity. You think Kuno doesn't know what you're talking about? Velocity was fucking max. Talking shit about Kuno's velocity.
In addition, there are bite marks on the face, scalp, and chest, consistent with predation. Ligature mark. The steel wiring There's too much of it. We need to remove the bell so we can get to the ligature mark.
You got just the right tool for that. The chain cutters.
Always good to think ahead. Now, we need to cut the bell to see the ligature mark below. Carefully, with as much precision as you can.
See? My pig is gonna fuck his head off.
No, he ain't. Your pig's a boring fuck.
The belt is equally tight around the whole circumference of his neck, swelling over the edges like white bread rising from the yeast. The knot is the weak spot. The chain cutters fit in there, steady now, like a flower arranger. 2 cuts and it should come loose. After some deliberation, you sink the cutters into the knot tying the belt together. You squeeze the rubber handles together, sweat forming on your brow. Snap! The knot is slashed. Another cut and the belt falls apart like a flower bouquet, revealing the dead man's neck and the dark red ligature mark around it.
The rope rises to a point, leaving a gap in the ligature mark. The suspension point is in the back of the neck.
As it ought to. This is where its grip on the curdled meat is gentlest, pulling up.
Hemorrhaging is observed on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. The mark is well pronounced, consistent with a drop from 1 or 1.5 meters. Chest is intact, normal contour. Abdomen is protuberant, pelvis intact, genitalia...
No! It's gonna happen, see?
I fucking knew it!
This is clearly what they've been waiting for, ever since the autopsy began. The lieutenant is trying to make it as boring as possible.
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury. Ah yes, your hunch before. We can have a semen analysis Just write down that we request an analysis.
The corpse with his pants down does not have an opinion on the subject. All he has is genitals and a deathly odor. The dead man's penis is average-sized, congested from the downward collection of blood. The testicles are uneven in length, hanging underneath. The genitalia is greenish. Marbling is present around the crotch.
Back is symmetrical and intact. Upper and lower extremities are intact, but asymmetrical. There are combat injuries on the right hand, thigh, and hip. In addition, I see smaller, residual scars, too numerous to count, covering about 30% of his skin. Last item, hands. Hands are clean. No sign of a recent struggle. I was. Maybe I'm just not seeing them. Honestly, this stench is making it hard for me to think at the moment. Ooh. That's all for the external. Well done. What next? Central nervous system. I have nothing. Do you have anything on this man's central nervous system?
You don't even have a joke.
Musculoskeletal. Purge fluid is coming from the mouth. Not injury related. Eyes and tongue protuberant. Hyoid bone. Let's see.
With his eyes almost closed, the lieutenant puts his hand on the dead man's throat and begins to massage it, gently. A rotting smell erupts from the mouth. Purge fluid runs down his lips, black and viscous. You hear cracks as the lieutenant moves his sharp fingers inside the flesh, like the creaking of an old house at night.
Yeah, jack that fucker off!
The hyoid bone is fractured. The rest of the musculoskeletal system is intact and remarkable. Respiratory system. Oral cavity shows no lesions. The victim has received dental implants, possibly after a combat wound. Mouth swollen, hemorrhaging present in mucosa of the lips and mouth.
From here, it looks as though the clown-faced man is screaming. The tendons of his jaw are torn apart. Hyoid ripped from the force of the lieutenant's hands. No scream, no sigh of relief rises from the darkness inside. It's humid there. Sickly sweet air, unlike anything living. You feel like you're about to throw up again, straight in that mouth of his. It's hard. Once more, you taste stomach acid in the back of your throat. A contraction. Your throat pumps a little something from your stomach and into your mouth. You're forced to swallow, just to keep looking. Inside, you see darkness. Just a mess of meat and darkness.
There are ancient mysteries down there, Kobo. Ask me later.
Hemorrhaging present in mucus. Hepatobiliary, Na. Are you a hepatobiliary expert? Neither am I. That's it. Same for toxicology and serology, Na. Unless you have untapped reservoirs of knowledge there? We already have one test as per regulation, and we already requested semen.
Pigs requested semen like it's no big deal.
I'm not even interested in these boring mulkus anymore. I haven't sucked him off or anything.
Leave it NA, then. Cardiovascular. The body exhibits heavy lividity. Blood has gathered in the hands, feet, and neck. Hypostasis is visually consistent with the hanging. Gastrointestinal.
This will do.
Digested semi-solid food in stomach. Voila. What's next on the list?
Shoot, Looney Rooney. Oh yes, Kobo mi Lobo, in the gift horse's mouth, tracts and wakes and waterways, ancient materials buried. Just a small gulp away, my beloved Kobo, a small gulp away. Huh? You're misquoting me, Rooney. I said communism killed me. Love did me in. Come back later, Corpo. Amuse yourself with my frank manners and my memento mori features. If possible, also, see me in your dreams.
Let's see. We have bite marks, contusions on the head and chest, and a ligature mark encircling the neck. You'll need 3 feels. Leave a 4th one too. Nothing, just in case. Head, chest and scalp bite mark injuries. Predation by birds has caused damage to the body. Odontologist does not need to be consulted. And your opinion, officer? Agreed. Next injury? So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing it post-mortem.
At maximum velocity, fucko!
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
Coagulated blood sticks to his scalp and chest, where the countless stones have hit the dead man. Beneath, the description of injury. 2 boxes.
Right. Next. A dark red abraded ligature mark encircling the neck, with a gap on the nape measuring, let's say, 7 centimeters. The hyoid bone is fractured, the cervical column intact. I see hemorrhaging on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. Depth of the mark, 1 centimeter. No signs of clawing on the neck.
Below the note, 2 customary boxes wait to be ticked. The man's head jerks to the side. The ring around his neck is visible.
That's it. We have established cause of death. It's not much, and it leaves much to be questioned. But it's a start. Let's wrap this up. I pronounce this field autopsy over. Well, we established probable cause of death. Some would say that's the goal of an autopsy. We requested a test to be run on the genitals. That was the règle. The results should arrive in a couple of weeks if we are lucky. I will not hold my breath. Then, given the state of decay here, I consider establishing the victim's ethnicity a minor success. We were thorough with the list of injuries too. We described them all in detail. What is there to say? Given the circumstances, it was a professional field autopsy. I need a copy of that autopsy form. Then I will drive him to Faubourg for processing.
He's thinking, did I miss something? You tilt your head, also looking at the corpse. You run your hands over the victim's cold body, his limbs, his torso with its swollen organs. Maybe you should be more thorough. The genitals in his breeches continue to be unnoteworthy. You see the penis of a dead man. If you've seen it once, you've already got the picture.
Can't get enough of that dick.
Do you think we missed something?
You can't shake the feeling that there are more secrets concealed in the flesh before you.
Okay, well, we are in livor mortis here. He is disintegrating. We need to refrigerate the body if we want to conduct another examination, and we need to do it fast. Hey, wasn't there a giant ice bear sarcophagus below that building? Now, that's an overstatement. It's not actually for storing cadavers, or at least I hope so. I think we should take a look at it first. Make sure it's big enough before we carry him over. Let's move. With every hour, whatever we are looking for in the deceased will become harder to find.
The bear's eyes are still glowing red, watching over all the ice cream wrappers hidden inside its belly.
It's certainly an eccentric choice, but it is capacious and cold enough, too.
But the optics on this are awful, he thinks. We need to be as silent as we can.
Shall we go and get the body, then? I'll take the head, you take the feet. The stairs won't be easy, but we'll manage.
The two of you, easily. The body is heavier than you expected, and stinkier. It takes half an hour to get it down to the basement, then 10 more minutes to stuff it into the fridge. The lieutenant takes a step back to admire your handiwork.
Beautiful. A dead body in a nice bare fridge. This is some of the best police work I've ever done.
You've definitely earned a drink after this, perhaps even some pagan rites.
No, not really. Look at that. What have we done? We stuffed a dead body in a nice bare fridge. This story does not leave this room. Did we though? Okay, maybe we did. At least we've stopped the body from decomposing further. Now you can conduct another inspection under controlled circumstances.
Inside the icy realm of the ice bear fridge, the corpse stands slumped, waiting. Your arm reaches out and your eyes close, as if by their own volition. It's dark all around. You feel cold, dead flesh through the latex glove. It's right under the palm of your hand. His face, his cheeks, his nose, his fat, swollen lips. Like a rubber spider, your gloved hand crawls on his features. Everything is silent, all around. The oral cavity is cold and moist. A ball-like tongue attaches itself to the base of the mouth, lolling around like a scallop. You're on the right track. The tongue moves freely in the cavity. The mucus of the mouth is slippery, fragile, even through the latex. From the soft meat, teeth are budding. Hard pearls of bone in the gums and in the back of the mouth. Can you feel it? You're so close. Rip his jaws open now. Look in. A vision of black and dark red death, pried open by your hands and studded with teeth. Looks like he's laughing. Death fumes rising from his throat. And there, in the back of his mouth, above the bell of the uvula, right in the soft palate, you see a hole, barely visible to the human eye. It is swollen shut, almost vanished. No larger than 0.4 centimeters in radius, the edges appear darkened.
Keep going.
A black trickle of liquid runs into his throat from the wound. Your index fits right in there. A tight tunnel of flesh opens up. Tissue damage. Wide enough for 2 fingers. As you push both in, you reach through his mouth, right into his brainstem. Yes, that's what this part is called. You've seen the drawings. You've studied them. Your yellow fingers slide into the remains of the limbic system. There is no resistance. It's gelatinous. The slug-like structures are damaged too. The tearing extends deep into both hemispheres. The undulations of the limbic system have ended. All is quiet. The lieutenant answers with the sound of his pen on paper. Your fingers are all the way in now, reaching toward the inside of his skull. The cavity goes further, but the entry wound isn't wide enough for the rest of your hand to follow. All the muscles in your body harden. Time to enter him. Your fingers reach toward. Strange fluid streams down your wrist as you push deeper until you feel it on the tip of your finger. Ice cold serrated metal. Its edges cut right through the latex and into your finger.
Can you get to it?
There's a tiny crack, a protrusion in the cranium, right in the back of his head. Your finger must be pointing straight at it from the inside. The object that is in there stops just short of the skull, in the encephalus, knocking this tiny fracture into the cranium.
We have the makings of a very small exit wound here.
You push your hand further in. Whatever is in there keeps rolling between your fingers as you beckon it to come out. Out comes his small folding knife. The lieutenant moves its blade across the man's skull, searching for the exit wound.
Withdraw your hand 4 centimeters, please.
With a crack, he punches the knife in the skull. Then, one more time, and one more, until the bone comes loose, like eggshell. Inside, you feel the jelly move from his poking.
Can you push it out?
A small flower of metal blossoms from the man's head, followed by your yellow finger.
A bullet. Unknown calibre. Rifled. You may remove your hand from the victim's head now, officer. Well done. Here is your prize. We need to add an item to the injury list. Injury number 4. Oval entry wound with an abrasion collar. Soft palate, back of mouth. High velocity. Temporary cavity in brain tissue. Small exit wound on the occiput. How does that sound? Opinion, fatal injury. And one last thing. We should amend injury number 3. Ligament mark. New opinion, non-fatal. Post-mortem. Treatment.
He's proposing the bullet was the real cause of death, and the hanging an attempt to conceal this fact.
Yes, and the belt around his neck, the hanging, even dragging him to the yard. All of it was done after this man was already dead. I have had my doubts since you showed me the tracks. Why did they carry him over? Why not march him, I thought. There was no satisfying explanation. There have been other signs too. Small details. Everything is too neatly designed for us to assign probable cause here, as we did, full-heartedly. Well, no more.
We almost fell for it, he thinks. Almost. There is, of course, the very real possibility he was both shot and hanged.
To hide something. The real killer? The real motivation? What really happened here? That's for us to find out. But this, it will make finding them just a little easier. Oh, you really do. I am glad to hear you say that. Your room in the Whirling in Rags should come with a bathroom. Be sure to make use of it in the evening. Yes, we should take a closer look at it. I am certain it has more to tell us.
This little thing could reveal much about the weapon that shot it.
To put him out of his misery? It's possible, but it doesn't explain all the other dubious things here. Lack of struggle, primarily. I may be intellectually sloppy, but I prefer one theory at a time. And this just smacks of treatment to me. We bag the corpse and carry him to the holding pen of my kinema. I can transport him to processing myself, but I will be gone for the rest of the day. Work on the case. Tend to personal matters. Try not to do anything too dangerous. An officer needs backup in a neighborhood like this. I'll leave that choice to you. And one more thing. Great work, detective.
After you bag the corpse, Lieutenant Kitsuragi will leave the party until tomorrow morning. You can do side tasks, and even the main case, but it might be more difficult. Plan his exit accordingly.
Shoot, Looney Rooney. I like it a lot, brother. This really is your finest hour. You're a genius. A regular Corporangelo. Come back later, Corpo. Amuse yourself with my frank manners and my memento mori features. If possible, also, see me in your dreams.
All right. I will need a little help carrying him. You take the hands, I'll take the legs.
man is decomposing visibly now.
Shoot, Looney Rooney. Oh yes, just a small gulp away. Come back later, Corpo. Amuse yourself with my frank manners and my...
The man... The man is... Your arm reaches out and your eyes close, as if by their own volition. It's dark all around. His face, his cheeks, his nose, his fat, swollen lips. Like a rubber spider, your gloved hand crawls on his features. Everything is silent, all around. The oral cavity is cold and moist. A ball-like tongue attacks. You're on the right track. The tongue, can you feel it? A vision of black. You see a hole. Kuno nods, too. He takes a step closer. A black trickle of liquid runs in. Your index fits.
The fuck is happening?
Ah, shit, see?
Yes, that you've seen the basal ganglia feels clumpy. What entered here? Your yellow fingers slide into the remains of the limbic system. There is no resistance. The ululations of the lieutenant
Fucking cavity, see?
quivering with awe. Your fingers are all the muscles in your fingers reach to ice-cold serrated metal. Its edges cut right through.
Can you...
The object that is in there.
We have the makings of...
Forget about the fucking exit wound, Beano. The pig is wearing him like a fuck puppet.
Her voice is absolutely sizzling with excitement. You pick the object between your index and middle finger. It feels sharp, like metal. With your face twisting from pain and concentration, all you need to do is just...
My pig's fucking got it?
What? What is it?
The inside of the head feels cold and smooth, like a glove. Sweat dripping down your brow. Careful not to lose the prize between your fingers. With a plop, your hand emerges from the mouth. The garden glove is covered in blood right up to the wrist. Between your fingers, a small flower. A blossom made of lead.
Fucking beautiful!
a bullet.
The bullet falls in the bag, leaving a smattering of blood on the plastic. He raises the bag under his eyes and says,
A non-calibre rifle, some kind of brittle alloy, fractured on impact. Of course, you deserve it. We need to add an item to the injury list. High velocity, temporary cavity, opinion, fatal injury. And one last...
He's proposing the bullet.
Yes, and the belt around his neck. There have been other signs too. Small.
We almost felt there is, of course, the...
That's for us to find, to hide something. Oh, you really, really do. I am glad to hear you say that. To put him out of his misery? Yes, we should.
This little thing could reveal...
We bag the corpse and carry him to the holding pen of my kinema. Work on the case. Tend to personal matters. I'll leave that choice to you.
After you bag the corpse, Lieutenant Kitsuragi will leave the party until tomorrow morning. You can do side tasks.
The man...
All right.
The bullet is safely sealed away in a plastic bag bearing the RCM stamp. Kim has filled out the label on the bag with the item number, case number, and date and location the bullet was found. Beside his orderly handwriting, the bullet looks especially sad, like a tiny, shriveled head of cauliflower.
What? Well, if I was the bullet, which I'm not, I would say, find the weapon that shot me. If we find who owns it, we will have likely found who used it, possibly to kill our victim. In conclusion, the more we know about this bullet of yours, the better.
The squashed bullet has some sharp edges where the jacket has split open. It feels cold, even through the bag. You wouldn't ordinarily have cause to handle jacketed bullets. The citizens' militia uses cast bullets only. Little pebbles of metal loaded from the muzzle, usually in a cartridge. The jacket of the bullet is made of a yellowish metal. It has blossomed out to reveal a dark grey core. The base of the bullet is close to 5 millimeters in diameter. You can just about make out a few striations near the base of the bullet. Little hairlines, linear. It feels standard. It's quite destroyed. Some of the fragments are still lodged in the wound.
What can you say about the bullet so far? A jacketed bullet. Okay. It would have been shot from a military-grade breech-loading rifle, not from a muzzleloader, like those typically found on the streets of Martinez.
Highly unusual. The people of Revachol haven't carried breech-loading weapons like this for nearly half a century.
Even the RCM uses ordinary unjacketed conical bullets. This is strange. Very strange. I like this, officer. Strange means unique. Unique means incriminating. We need to find the gun that shot it.
Something tells you that won't be any time soon. This'll have to be one of those epic tasks that's open for a while. A rifle, Revolutionary period. Your bullet looks to be an old 4.46mm from the surplus left over from the turn of the century. Probably an antique, or a retrofitted antique. The 4.46 caliber was widely used with the Belmargrave rifle, a Revacholian manufacturer. The BM dominated the battlefields of the Insulindian theater of the anti-centennial revolution 50 years ago. Incidentally, you have just such a rifle with you, the dusty old thing you found hidden in the basement below the commercial area. It's unusable, sadly. If it were, the bullet would probably fit the chamber. No, but Zeliger, a major firearm manufacturer, ended up with a surplus after the war, so there are still a lot of these old military rifles floating around, usually broken. The quality was appalling. Antiques enthusiasts, guerrilla fighters in distant countries, a few lucky jamrock bangers, you're looking for the same thing you found in that hidden weapons cache, only in working order.
What are you thinking? Bullet? Okay, and? An antique. That makes sense. There can't be many breech-loading rifles floating around in Martinez, or anywhere in Ravachol, really. I have to hand it to the monarchs. It's quite admirable that they took the advice of criminologists last century and banned the use of breech loaders in peacetime. Some new RCM recruits get impatient with their muzzle loaders once they've trained with military-grade weapons, but they realize it's worth it in the end.
Prohibiting peacetime law enforcement to front-loaded rifles is a policy enforced by the Moralist International in all the nations of the Real Belt.
Imagine if everyone, cops, citizens, had access to firearms that could shoot multiple rounds without pausing to reload. After the first shot, the second, third, and so on come much easier. But back to the investigation. Let's find out. Next step, finding the gun itself.
An intricate web of blue lines stretches across the torso of the hanged man, from the right shoulder to the solar plexus. Each time the lines intersect, a small white star is formed in their crossing. Hundreds of fading asterisks riddle his skin. Their concentration is highest around his heart. The pattern still kind of has an ethnic feel to it, but gone. For you to discover. You've gotten as far as you will without assistance. Someone close to the victim might know. Someone who knows about history could tell you. The man is the
Necromancer pig. That shit was dark. Going in there like that. Oh, brutal shit. Tell me. Kuno dies. You're gonna pick one out of his brain like that too? Kuno's gonna go out in a hail of bullets. Gonna look like a fucking porcupine.
Porta Rosa, a side alley of the Boogie Street Spearhead. A young man in his early 20s approaches patrol officer Emile Mullins and asks for a cigarette. As Officer Mullins reaches in his coat pocket for the pack of Astra he just purchased this morning, the man shoots him point blank in his chest. Breathless, the patrol officer collapses in the gutter. His right hand is grabbing the armor on his chest. The bullet didn't pierce it, but he can't breathe. On the pavement, the patter of the perpetrator's feet growing distant. "Bleed, pig," someone opens a window and says, but Emile cannot see who. His sight grows dim with pain.
Pigs. The fuck about it? Kuno doesn't give a shit about the armor. Kuno's fuck gimp's got one big thing wrong with him. He's a fucking mutant. Look at him. Fucking growth hormone shit. He's a giant. The armor's too big for any man. Kuno doesn't give a shit about that freak armor. Kuno threw that shit away.
Oh, come on. He's just pretending that he doesn't care because he's too small for the armor.
Kuno tried to get the helmet on. It was too big. Kuno kicked that shit in the sea, rugby style. That shit means nothing to Kuno. Yeah, that shit means nothing to Kuno. Kuno doesn't give a shit about material shit. Kuno's a fucking monk. You wanna fuck on someone about that armor? Go fuck the mustached union fuck. The jolly troubadour shit at the gate. Yeah, cock in boot. You know that jolly union cow fucker? Came around talking about cows or some shit. Came around pretending like he cares about cows. So yeah, he's the one you want to talk to. He's fucking crazy about that armor shit. Coming here pretending like he likes cows. Trying to catch a peep at Kuno's armor. Go to the gate. Ask him yourself.
Yes, this troubadour has it. You can feel it.
You're testing Kuno's patience here.
Get lost,
Kuno doesn't fucking care.
guess getting past the man ain't that simple after all. So, what now? The little boy had it good on his promise. To get me into trouble. To sick the pigs on me, pardon the choice of words, not mine.
What happened?
I was asked to look into that armor situation. Official Union probe, you know. Track it down, see who took it.
Did you?
At first I thought, why not? Maybe the pieces can feed the strike. Buy us a few more days under the sun, you know? So I went to this boy. He said he'll make me his prison bitch. He's got eyes everywhere, the cops in his pocket, and he's the king of Jamrock. Serves me right for doing menial footwork. I dropped that probe right then and there, and it still got me into trouble. One bad move is all it takes. It's a minor nuisance. It's all good. I learned that people don't want to talk to a drunk Union man about some armor.
What else?
Not much. Technical stuff mostly. That was the interesting part. I did some research into this armadura. Let's say I have friends at the library. I didn't get into the material science, just how it comes off.
How does it come off?
In parts. 4 in total. The helmet was the first to go. The kid says he tore it off and kicked it into the sea. I believe him. The boots were still on the guy last I saw. Too hard to remove. So, as I count, there are 2 parts missing. The gauntlets and the cuirass. This is where I left off. Too much hassle. More like a job for some militia. Oh, they're just gone. They don't exist anymore, if they ever did at all. Forget about them. I did.
All of it? There are junior officers out there, eager to prove themselves. I would leave some for them, and I would leave the boots to processing, but okay. Let's find all of it.
And Mesqui's epic then, all across Martinez. I hope it will be a real bonanza for you. No problem. If you see that kid, thank him from Call Me Mañana. Thank him for showing me the way.
He is sincerely grateful he is not tracking down pieces of armor right now.
Sorry. Busy surveying the situation. I'm sure you'll figure something out. You guys have all sorts of gadgets these days. Wiretapping, telescopic batons, futuristic circuit bending to infiltrate harbor machinery. Maybe you could even knock that Kowalson crane over using some remote controls. Or calling in tactical air support. You guys have air support, right?
Because we don't. We don't have air support, or any of those other things.
I get it. Hush hush about the secret technology.
Something changes in his disposition. A merciful smile in the corner of his eye.
All right, I may have some advice for you on how to deal with Jean-Luc there, out of solidarity to the RCM. It's low in technology, however. First, don't fight him, obviously. Second, get him to share his theory by being how I do it. You're welcome.
Maybe that would work. We'll have to see. Snow covers the white on blue police livery of the motor carriage. The white colours nearly meld together. Do something important? Something murder-related? There's always something important. Doesn't mean you can't take a moment to admire this piece of machinery. This is a Caprice Canema, the Caprice Motor Corps follow-up to their highly successful workhorse, Caprice 40, and the answer to the Lum's racing breed, Ferv series. With its air-cooled, rear-mounted 12-cylinder compression ignition engine, driving the rear wheels through a 4-speed manual gearbox, the Canema is able to reach 100 kilometers per hour in 13.5 seconds and go on to a top speed of 180 kilometers an hour. The high center of balance is offset by a large battery bank mounted at the bottom of the cabin, feeding all the auxiliary systems and making the Canema effectively a mobile power plant. Due to a quite steep price tag, it is very unusual to see one in police livery.
You want to take a closer look? $130.
I reckon that's a 7-liter V12 there.
$7.2. Supercharged.
Saying these words brings him immense joy.
Yes, an extraordinary machine.
It's nice and all, but why so modest? Put some zing into it. Flare it up. Slam it down.
Sorry, I'm not following you.
Lingo it up.
Well, maybe don't just say every little thing in your head out loud. It confuses people. You mean the coil noise? When variable current passes through wires that make up the coils on the electrical system on this machine, it causes vibration in the wires and the cores of the coils. When the frequency of the current in the coils falls within the audible range, the resulting vibration creates the whiny sound you mentioned.
What a binoclard. Whatever you do, don't make fun of the lieutenant for explaining this to you.
I have pretty much maintained my vehicles by myself ever since one was assigned to me. You inevitably pick up some knowledge on the way.
There's pride in there. A trained driver knows his ride.